Hey everyone! Thanks for joining us for the next session of our Startup Spotlight series with Synthesized. My name is Anna. I'm an event planner for Reactor, joining you from Redmond, Washington. Before we start, I do have some quick housekeeping. Please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. While we absolutely encourage engagement in the chat, we ask that you please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional and on topic. Keep an eye on that chat. We'll be dropping helpful links and checking for questions for our presenters to answer live. Our session is being recorded. It'll be available to view on demand within 24 to 48 hours on the Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel. With that, I'd love to bring on our presenters for today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Anna. Hi, everybody. My name is Gabriela de Queiroz. I'm Director of AI here at Microsoft in the beautiful San Francisco, California. And I'm excited today to be talking to the founder and CEO of the AI startup Synthesized. But before we start, I want you to invite to join me here live bi-weekly on Thursday. On this live stream, I'll be chatting with different founders from top AI startups that are doing innovative work. We'll talk about their company, the product, the technology behind, use cases, customer stories, and of course, how Microsoft has been helping them in this whole journey. During the conversation, you, the audience, can ask questions in the chat, and I'll be selecting some of them to be answered live. And before we start, I want to share an amazing program that we have here at Microsoft for startups. We offer startups, no matter where you are in the journey, up to $150,000 in Azure credits that can be used in our latest products or different generative AI models, like the models from OpenAI. You also get access for free to 30 plus tools and services that help your startup grow and scale. And on top of all of that, you get free one-on-one sessions with Microsoft experts to work through technical and business challenges that you might have. Today, I'm excited to talk to Nicolai Baldin, CEO and co-founder of Synthesized. Welcome to the show, Nicolai.
Thank you, Gabriela. Excited to be here.
Awesome. So we've been talking in the backstage and before this conversation today about the company and all the great things that you are doing. But before that, you have a very interesting background, and you are like the real, I would say, statistician. And then you have an interesting story, like from like your graduation until you found the company. Can you go through your career path? Talk to us why you decided to found the company.
Yeah, very, very happy to. So I have over 12 years in professional machine learning engineering and research experience. And prior to starting the business, used to work in the US and also in the UK. I have my PhD in machine learning and statistics as well from the University of Cambridge. And during my PhD, spent quite a bit of time in the US. At Stanford, I used to be a visiting researcher there and also used to work for one of the financial services companies in New York as well. So started the business roughly a little bit more than 4 years ago now, and really with the mission to invest in building the data infrastructure for accelerating development and testing of critical applications. Back then, it was a lot more focused on machine learning applications, but at the moment, we really expanded into software applications, enterprise applications, and really helping developers, application teams build and release the best bulletproof applications possible. My background is technical, as you might tell, so very happy to dive deeper into some of the technical topics maybe we might discuss today in terms of using AI in the software development life cycle, but also having coming from the academic and technical background and building the company and building partnerships, scaling the business. We started in London, but then very quickly brought the business to the US. And then brought the business to also recently to Japan. So we have a really international team right now. So I'm serving our partners and clients around the globe. And yeah, really happy to share some of the learnings along the way, coming from relatively technical field and then growing into the business side of things. But yeah, excited to be here. I have prepared some slides and some of the product capabilities I want to share show as well. But yeah, so we can keep it relatively interactive. So excited to present those during the session.
Awesome. And then you drop out of college or a PhD, is that correct? And then you found a company, or did you finish the PhD and then you started the company? Because that's something interesting. Like you go from the academic side to founding a company. Like, how is this transition?
Yeah, no, you're kind of spot on, right? So, and in fact, I had been thinking a lot about that sort of transition, right? So, and I did finish my PhD, right? So I kind of properly, but to your point, that sort of consideration was on the table, right? So should I start a little bit earlier, or should I finish? And ultimately, I did decide to finish simply because I really wanted to, get something I, had already invested in so much into, like just to get it done and get it out there, because it is important, right? So when you invest so much time into, some cutting edge, research and in the machine learning field, you really want to kind of get it to the, final point. So did finish my PhD. I defended my Viva quite a long time ago, but yeah, those were really, really exciting times. And but yeah, so the idea for the company I had already had during my PhD, right? So and there was always like constant sort of battle in terms of when kind of to start and when start investing more time in the building the business versus doing some machine learning work. But yeah, eventually finished that, started the business, and right now basically not doing much of research, but still can be relatively dangerous in those discussions.
Amazing. So let's go and do a deep dive into the company so people can understand what we are talking about, and then we can go and talk about like the technology behind, and the reason why you are doing what you are doing, the market, and so on. So would you mind to
so
take us through
yeah, I've prepared some slides actually, so I'm very happy to share them and walk you through the product and what we do and how we started and where we are now and where we are going as well. My screen should now be visible. If it's not, please tell me. But what we do as a company, we really help automate test data infrastructure with AI, more specifically agentic AI. So all developers, all application teams require test data, training data to develop applications, but accessing production data or accessing some test infrastructure is often cumbersome, expensive, and it's really, really difficult. So we build the business to really automate the entire test infrastructure, and initially focused on the BFSI industry. BFSI means banking, financial services, and insurance, and then basically expanded essentially globally. And very happy to share with the listeners like all the learnings kind of along the way. But yeah, we initially started working with Deutsche Bank and UBS. So those were our first design partners, and then expanded beyond those organizations, and currently operating as mentioned globally. So in the UK, EMEA, US, and APAC. More specifically Japan. So what we specialize in really creating frameworks to basically deliver optimized test data for developers and application teams. We work a lot with technical teams, and normally the problems we hear from them are really around automation and compliance, right? So how do we ensure that we fully automate the process of development and testing of a critical application in the organization, whether it's a ML-based application, whether it's a software application? We need to ensure that the process is really, really automated, and it's also compliant with the internal and external data privacy compliance requirements as well. And of course, right now in the era of AI, where there is so much investment in the AI, in LLMs and machine learning, it's really critical to have the right test infrastructure, because you oftentimes need to ensure that you have the right the right environment and the right capabilities to test your LLM, right? And we are doing a lot of work here with, of course, with Microsoft. So we are part of the so-called Pegasus program, right? So, and we work very closely with Microsoft on basically on enabling some of these capabilities, and we're using a lot of the capabilities of Microsoft ourselves as well. Happy to comment on that. But yeah, ultimately the problem of I guess like test infrastructure is not new, right? And typically we see companies using different production copies of the data, manual scripts, or some existing solutions. And there are pros and cons of all of those. And we see maybe younger companies, startups, scale-ups using some manual scripts, or deciding to use just production data in testing and development of critical applications. But that's not really ideal, right? So imagine you want to test, say, the best, the new release of your favorite LLM algorithm, right? So, and you can't easily use your production sensitive data for that. So you need to figure out how to actually create test data which can help you understand how much better or worse this new release is, right? And so using sensitive data, sensitive production data is not ideal, especially if you're working in healthcare, if you're working in financial services, if you're working in education, accounting, retail, and many other fields. So it's not really ideal. We see more, I guess, like mature organizations already having some solutions. And those solutions would oftentimes be, legacy solutions, or maybe some new solutions, but still not really fit for purpose, right? So they're not really suited for testing the, some of the LLM capabilities. They're not suitable for testing some of the AI capabilities, and they also, lack a lot of automation, which is in fact critical, kind of for this in this area as well. So our perspective is to really empower application development and ML teams with the right-sized databases for development and testing minutes. And it doesn't matter whether it's a ML, LLM-based application, or whether it's a traditional software application. And that can be, Salesforce, or, SAP, or, many others. Then it's really a lot about creation of the realistic production-like data, test data for those purposes as well. And we want to ensure full compliance, right? So, and we deliver that. We deliver automated compliance with your internal and also external policies. And you also want to make sure it's fully, automated framework integrated into your CI/CD pipeline. And of course, often we work with companies using Azure DevOps. So there is a lot of need to integrate with Azure DevOps as well, which we deliver. And ultimately, you want to make sure it integrates seamlessly with your stack, whether it's SQL Server database, whether it's Fabric, right? So you want to ensure it's a really part of your existing ecosystem, and we've spent a lot of time enabling that as well. So from our perspective, the actual platform, it delivers the full infrastructure for accelerating development and testing of critical applications with AI. So really maximizing the performance, quality, and time to market. So we want to ensure that the critical applications, critical releases are delivered to the market very quickly at the right time. And also, of course, ensuring we optimize the compliance component of the process as well. How it works, and I will dive a little bit deeper into that. But ultimately, we specialize in everything related to high-quality test infrastructure provisioning, so which includes test data provisioning, generation of test data, including masking of your sensitive data. So if you have, say, SQL Server database and it has some sensitive capabilities in it, and you want to create a high-quality test component, test snapshot of that, so we deliver that. Or if you have a schema of your database or of your application, and you want to spawn database or data set, which can be used in the development and testing exercise. So we enable that as well. We're heavily leveraging generative AI and sort of agentic architectures as well. We are here, relatively agnostic, but of course, leveraging a lot our, partnership with Microsoft in terms of the capabilities, right? So of the Pegasus, but also, building and working very closely with joint customers of Microsoft and Synthesized as well. In terms of the use cases, right? So why do we need this, right? So, well, it's relatively simple, right? So all application teams, all testing teams, they need test data for testing of those applications, and there are very concrete use cases around, regression testing, functional testing, unit testing, UAT testing, and we are talking about not only, of course, the modern capabilities, modern applications, but also, of course, a lot of applications which have been built some time ago. They also require a lot of testing exercises, which we support, right? And this is just a very small snapshot of what we do as a company. We work with a lot with startups in the US, UK, Europe. Ultimately, young company, you want to demonstrate how great your product is, or capabilities, and you don't really have a lot of test data. So we help there as well. But of course, the majority of our focus has been on serving large enterprise customers. So whether it's BFSI industry, whether it's healthcare, whether it's telecom industry, so we specialize in those enterprise engagements quite a bit. So yeah, this basically concludes the this I guess like summary, kind of the overview of what we do. Really happy to dive deeper into the actual demo, into the actual I guess like capabilities of the platform, but also extremely happy to keep this very interactive as well, depending on if you have any questions or
I do have a question. I do have a question, and thank you for the overview, which is great for us to understand. You mentioned like, why do we need more test data, especially small companies where they don't have enough data. One of the things that I would like to understand better is like, why is it important to have more test data and like more like quality test data? Why is this important? That's the first thing.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is like, can you talk a little bit like, how do you generate this test data? Like, do they provide you a sample of data of what they have, and then you create some like synthetic data based on the characteristics of like the small sample that they provided?
Yeah. So in terms of the first point around the quality, right? So, and I think there is also a big question actually what quality means, right? So in terms of having reliable test data. So I'm gonna talk about it in a minute. But first, why we need that is, of course, the performance of applications in production directly correlates with the quality of our test environment, test infrastructure, and essentially test data. So we want to make sure that we cover a lot of different vulnerabilities, bugs, issues our software may have in production with a very reliable, test infrastructure, and a lot of it is down to having high quality test data. In terms of what that quality actually means, that there are some differences, right? So if it's testing, like a large application. So we really want to understand what it means to cover all of those vulnerability points. And we had done a lot of work in that area to guarantee the, all the basically performance against those situations, right, which may kind of come up in production. And at the same time, for machine learning based systems, that definition is slightly different. So in terms of quality, you really want to make sure you cover a lot of scenarios, right? So from the your test strategy perspective, right? So saying, hey, if it's say fraud detection system, right? So you want to make sure that you test against all potentially synthetic artificial fraud as well. And the quality of that is a little bit different. So that's where statistics is really important, and machine learning is very important. In terms of how we generate test data, so there are various ways to do it. So ultimately, we focus on the incorporating the requirements. So effectively breaking down what that means to have a bulletproof application, and then incorporating that into the generation process. And ultimately, we focus on the full spectrum. So it doesn't have to be necessarily generated test data. Maybe you actually already have your wonderful production database, but you actually have too much of it. So you actually need to subset that database. So we focus on that a lot. So basically almost like extracting, like giving you a very perfect snapshot of your production, but which can be effectively used in testing. Because imagine you have a 50 terabytes database in your production environment, so you don't really want to necessarily be using that as part of your CI/CD pipeline. So we enable you to very quickly snapshot that database and make sure it's available for application teams to use in the processes. In terms of the technology underneath, so all this is based on effectively AI models, like machine learning models, and those models really learn and understand what that means to have perfect test infrastructure, and what that means, what does it actually mean from the data perspective to have perfect test infrastructure as well. And the machine learning models optimize the output so that it really works very well as part of the development lifecycle. Some of the models are our proprietary models. We also use a lot of capabilities, of course, from together with Microsoft, if the customer is able to access those capabilities from Microsoft. So we do not really, restrict the customers and the users to only use the kind of predefined stack, right? So if they have access to some of the APIs from Microsoft, right? So from OpenAI, that can also very effectively integrate that into the process and effectively turbocharge the entire capability as well.
Awesome. No, thank you for answering the questions. And just one parenthesis here for me to understand, because like a long time ago, probably like 5-10 years ago, we didn't talk as much to like this amount of data. We didn't need this amount of data to do the work, especially in the ML or statistics side. We had very small data size. And I remember like the discussions that we used to have was about, oh, is the data balanced or not?
Yeah.
And then how is the kind of like the transformation from like the data being balanced to no, we need more data? How is this progression? Because I'm always interested like how things are moving in this space. Like before was like, oh, we have a lot of data, so we need the infrastructure to support our data. And then we had some problems with imbalance. And then now it's like we have all these models, but we don't have enough data to deploy or use the techniques.
Yeah. The problem of data imbalances is absolutely massive. And it's partly because of the inefficiencies in data collection processes. So we see this a lot, actually. So we had done some research investigation a few years ago where we realized that over 65% of data we had seen been heavily imbalanced, right? As the data we had seen as a company. And the reason it's so is because for many events, for many scenarios, you actually just don't have much data. So you have a lot of representation of the so-called good events, right? So like like standard average whatever you call kind of those events, but there are very, very few examples of events and data points which are not which are non-standard, right? So what that means in like real life, just to give an example, of course, is for instance, in healthcare, right? So there are many examples where you have a big system and it's for working with, say, rare diseases or with some of the capabilities around kind of DNA work as well. But the examples of, for instance, rare diseases are, well, by definition, rare. So you can't easily have a lot of, I guess, like data points in that perspective. So the question there is that how do you augment what we have with, potentially with some, data augmentation capabilities, but building like a perfect, test environment, perfect, development environment, which, has equal representation of those capabilities. And that's, exactly what, partly what we delivered back then. And we even released the package in the space, and it's part of the platform called Fairlands, which looks at your database and tells you where the imbalances are, and tells you like how to prevent them. Of course, right now the problem with imbalances is still there, but now it's also combined with sometimes having too much noise. So we see a lot of teams and a lot of fantastic companies, but just having actually so much noise in the production environment that they almost like, hey, I have this 20 terabytes of data flying in my production. So if I integrate this into my CI/CD pipeline, that it's not only going to be expensive, but it's going to be just long, right? So you don't want to be running your tests and development exercises against that massive sort of beast. So there is a question of how to actually create small data, right? So which is representative of my production kind of condition. And we that's something we also spent quite a bit of time on actually incorporating that capability. But yeah, it's quite critical to effectively realize that, hey, we have some imperfect input, and that those imperfections are basically translated into different metrics, and then you ultimately want to have the perfect output, right? And that perfect output is dependent on the of course the actual testing exercise, and you want to basically connect those two very nicely.
Great. We have a few questions that it's related to what we are talking about. And so I'll take right now so we don't interrupt the next topic. So the first one is from Indian, and they are asking, do you have connectors for various applications, platforms to connect the test data, like a SQL connector for front-end testing?
Yep. Yeah, so we specialize in, so we basically have connectors to all relational databases, to third-party applications, and to, like, for instance, Salesforce and many others. And we also work with different databases which are not relational, but covering actually the full spectrum of the capability from the test infrastructure perspective.
Awesome. Another one is from Dave, and they are asking, what kind of production system do you test for? You mentioned fraud, so like payment, finance, etc.
Yeah. So those really vary, right? So with it could be an online banking app of US based company, but it can also be a healthcare system of European company, or basically HR system of telecommunication company. So those really vary. So ultimately, any application requires testing, and just by definition, you can't easily release a new feature, a new component without doing some integration tests and sometimes end-to-end tests. And because of that, we actually see a lot of those. Ultimately, there are, of course, things which unify them quite a bit. So whether it's database or API capabilities, so they're quite similar. But the actual systems, they absolutely basically it's enormous how massive those I guess like the space is. And it's always important to look at the common denominator, right, across those applications.
Great. And thank you all for the questions again. And Nicolai, you mentioned that you had a demo to show us.
That's right. Yeah.
Do you have it handy? So I'm very excited to see this in action.
Yeah. Excellent. So from our perspective, so this is our website. So please, everyone, take a look. Synthesized.io. It's really comprehensive, has a lot of materials, and you can very quickly get a demo. And we'll basically give you a very tailored demo, kind of separately as well. The platform has cloud component, and it also has a local component. So you can deploy different packages locally, or you can use the cloud capability as well. All this is nicely documented, and the cloud and both the cloud capability and also the self-hosted capability. So the libraries which you can download quite easily. So you go to our documentation, which is docs.synthesized.io, and you request a license, whether you're application part of the application development team, or if you're part of the DevOps team. So you can just very easily get access to the some of the capabilities the platform provides. So once you have the platform installed, and we can give you a separate demo of that as well. So there are various tutorials how to mask your sensitive data, how to generate high quality test infrastructure. So basically everything, including test data piece, how to shrink a massive database which you may have in production. So whether it's Postgres, SQL Server, Oracle, and make it available in your development environment, and how to also work with multiple databases, how to work with applications as well. So all this is very nicely documented with multiple examples on GitHub as well.
And Nicolai, is this open source? This part that you were showing?
This is not open source. So this is more like the self-hosted capability, but we have some open source packages as well. But importantly, from the developer perspective, there is a lot of, it's effectively from the just individual developer, a lot of this can be leveraged for free. There are some limitations, but ultimately anyone on this during the session can just download this and already start using this for in some of the setups. Of course, enterprise capabilities around compliance and all that is not included, but the developer packages are actually really widely used and really popular. So just download this and you can just start using it right away. And of course, our team can just give a more detailed demo of everything here as well. Of course, we are partnering with Microsoft, so a lot of this is available via Azure. So if you basically work with Azure, so you just download this from your marketplace. So basically, you just go to Azure Marketplace and find the package and just start using it there, or you can just deploy this directly into your Azure Kubernetes service as well. From the other integration points which are worth highlighting, there is a lot of capabilities around integrating with CI/CD pipelines, such as, for instance, GitHub Actions. So you can actually look this up here. So how to create a transformation job of your data as part of your CI/CD pipeline. So whether it's Azure DevOps or GitHub Actions, so this you can quickly see how this works. Then from the overall perspective, you can also see a lot of the capabilities around basically different transformers, and ultimately how you can very effectively leverage a variety of different algorithms for generating high quality representative production like data, how you can mask sensitive data, how you can subset your existing database as well. So all this is available here. It's a very long list with different capabilities, but dig in and see how this can be done. And as mentioned, there are lots of tutorials around working with different databases, and also there are tutorials how to work with different spawning products. Like we have integrations with a lot of different products where you just need to spawn a database and put this in your development and test environment. And yeah, we highly recommend some of this as well. And also, products such as, for instance, test containers. It's a wonderful library for this one is open source for basically spawning the container, spawning the database and running your unit tests in your a local environment as well. So all this is basically around the CLI. So the platform consists of the CLI, which is command line interface, extensive API, and also, of course, the interface. From the interface perspective, you basically just go to our website, and you can always access or get a demo, or just go to Synthesized Cloud. Here you pick any of the basically login options, and you already have the basically capability available to you right away. So from this cloud capability, you can connect to any data source. You can upload some data as well. You can upload a schema. You can upload some information you have, and for the system to understand that and effectively create data according to your requirements. And here we support basically any a lot of different formats and a lot of different databases. So that's from that perspective, a lot of this is covered. So just to give an idea, basically here you can see Snowflake, DB2, H2, SQL, Oracle, and of course, SQL Server. We see this a lot with our users. So once you've done that, you point where data needs to be moved. So this is in the cloud, right? So so the current version you see, this is currently runs in the cloud, but you can also have this in your tenant, in your cloud environment as well. So that's completely fine. And once you've done that, so you basically create different workflows, and there are different workflows here already available. So just to maybe give us some of the ideas, so you can very quickly create a database. Here we're going to create a database for e-commerce, not for a healthcare app, managing patient records. So this would be like a healthcare example, but the same basically in finance and retail and others. So you basically create this, and automatically you have the capability, and this spawns a database for you already, like a test database, and it knows. It looks at the schema, it looks at some of the tables, and it basically creates this immediately for you, and you can just actually access this database locally or in the cloud as well. You can then configure this transformation, and then you just go back to the commutation and configure it the right way. But ultimately, you can already start using a lot of this, and you can see basically different customers. You can see different phone numbers, etc. Then you just point this into your environment, and this database goes into your local or development environment. And as mentioned, so we handle a variety of different databases, environments, applications, all of that. So this is just very high level demo. So you can see here that this is for developers, so for individual use. And for the enterprise platform, you basically just need to request access to it as well, and our team will show you like a comprehensive enterprise platform as well. So, but this is very quick, basically developer-oriented demo already, which can be just used right away.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the demo. So if you are interested, go to the website, you can request a demo. And the other thing that I want to mention, Nicolai, which I do appreciate when I was browsing the website, is that you have a lot of information other than, of course, the product itself, but there is a lot of learning pieces. I see that you have like the developer hub where there are some tutorials, and then you have the glossary, which is amazing. Like you have a whole glossary of like the key terminologies in this space. And then the third one that I want to mention is the reports and white papers. So there's a lot of like learning on the website as well.
100%, and we have invested a lot in building the community around the platform, and I'm very happy to share all of the work we have done in the past. But also, if the audience is keen to collaborate on some of the species, we also incredibly open to basically do things together. So whether it's there is interest in doing something from the kind of thought leadership perspective, or write blog posts together, or do some integration together, right? So we have a lot of, I guess, like the culture and the way we've built the company is like really focused on delivering value to the users directly as well. So we have a really strong community around the platform, and we very keen to continue growing the community and continue investing in the community as well. So please do reach out with any of the ideas, and we will be very happy to collaborate and discuss those ideas with you.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, so I would say go to the website again. There is a lot of learning, a lot of material that are available for free that you can go and learn about what we are talking about, and even like other topics they have on their website as well. And Nicolai, we have been talking about this whole data and how important data is. How do you see this evolving? It is like something that is going to be more and more important with the advance of Gen AI and AI. How do you see these fields going next?
Yeah, so we see a lot of interest and requests for evaluating different ML models, AI models, LLMs, and it's really important to know those vulnerability points for different algorithms. And we will see there will be an explosion of LLM use cases, right? And there are, we're just basically at the tip of the iceberg at the moment with just use cases around LLMs, and a lot of that adoption will require a lot of different scenarios, how actually work in those scenarios as well. So really super excited about that that sort of that area, and of course there will only be more data every year from the world, from different companies, and that requires a lot of understanding of how do we actually effectively deliver high quality results, high quality applications to clients and users. So we only going to see more and more acceleration in the field, and a lot of that will require precision, high quality, and of course regulatory compliance will always be there, right? So the more data is out there, the more I guess risk that something is going to be overlooked, right? So when you have terabytes, massive volumes of data sitting in your production, some of that is going to be very sensitive. So, and you don't want to unnecessarily expose that to a third party, or even in your local environment. So we will see a lot of focus on basically protecting your intellectual property as well. So, and that's not even, we are not even talking about the external basically component, right? So which is external regulatory pressure, whether it's FINMA or CCPA, HIPAA, or DORA, and many others, but it's a lot about your intellectual property as well, right? So because your data effectively becomes your your defensible kind of mode, right? And you want to make sure that you don't necessarily expose that to kind of somewhere necessarily, and so that's very important. So whether it's LLM, whether it's an AI model, or whether it's a cloud-based application, so we'll see a lot of investment in the basically creation of those kind of testing frameworks which are compatible with the compliance requirements of large enterprise organizations.
Awesome. And we have in the audience a few startup founders or startup founders to be. And one of the questions that we get asked all the time is, great, I went through this technical path, and now I am the CEO and co-founder of a company. And there is a lot of challenges. You are not trained to the business sides of things. Is there anything any lesson learned or anything that we could share for people that are in the same path as you on how to overcome the challenges, or how to understand better how business work if you have a very technical background?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, there is so much that can be done, and I'm very happy to basically, I myself, actually volunteer a lot in, kind of supporting young entrepreneurs and supporting, young CEOs, right? So with just questions they have, right, and the challenges they have, but it's really, really important, right? So when I was starting, very few people were basically looking to build massive businesses basically at in the kind of in the kind of in well doing PhD sort of in statistics, machine learning, kind of in the UK, right? And as a result of that, so it did feel sometimes not quite lonely, right? And and still many founders and many very successful, like very late stage CEOs share that they do feel quite lonely at times, and that's part of the job, right? So but I think it's what's really important is to surround yourself um, with mentors and basically people who have done that before. So one of the biggest challenges which I had initially, right, was really kind of building really extremely well performing team very quickly, because you all of a sudden need to hire this head of marketing, or head of operations, or head of product marketing, right? So you have a lot of those tasks which you actually don't have any experience in, right? So how do you do that, right? And especially when you're scaling fast and when you're moving like really, really fast, you really want to minimize exposure to any risk. And in those situations, it's really, really important to surround yourself with mentors, with advisors, people who have done it before. And I was quite lucky to basically like ask everyone for help, right? So, and sometimes you need to be open to just hey, I need help here and there to basically ask for that, and that basically led me to meet some of the incredible people who later on became advisors, investors in the business, and some of the fantastic leaders in the space, such as CEO of Big ID, like a massive data company out of the US. Then some of the really fantastic individuals from Snowflake, from so it really was important to learn from the just people who had seen that, and just to make sure you don't really reinvent the wheel and don't really repeat the same mistake. But ultimately, definitely, do invest your time in pursuing that sort of the passion you may have in starting and launching the business. But also, of course, make sure you protect yourself from making some unnecessary mistakes which other people might have made, and you can just very quickly connect with them, get advice, and see what decision you need to make.
Thank you. So asking for help is key here. So don't be afraid of like asking for help and trying to find advisors and mentors to help complement the other side that you might not have. We touched a little bit of like the Microsoft partnership with Synthesized.
Yep.
And you mentioned like being available on the Azure marketplace. What are other things that came out of like this partnership? How is Microsoft helping your company?
Yeah, so going back to the previous point, so another thing is like really work with in a large, massive organizations such as Microsoft, right? So and definitely that helps accelerate a lot of the momentum, right? And it's all about distribution, right? So how do we enable the once we have some beautiful products, so how do you actually fix and how do we enable distribution? How do you let people know about it, right? And it's really important to work very closely with companies such as Microsoft, and we have gained a lot from Microsoft, not only by means of some of the benefits you outlined at the beginning, such as credits and everything, but also just having like really vast expertise and connections which Microsoft has around the world, right? So whether it's in the target customer you wanna work with, or whether it's event you'd like to attend, right? Or whether it's basically some of the capabilities you're looking to test, and you basically need to hear some feedback from some of the product teams, etc. Right? So because it's all about iterations, right? So how do you quickly iterate? So a few things we had done really, really successfully here with Microsoft is that I spoke at the World Summit AI the year before last, right? So we basically together spoke at the some of the security like CISO events in the Bay Area, some of the European events together, and that had really helped us as well to basically get that message across to key decision makers, key key stakeholders. And so that's from the brand awareness and the marketing capability, but of course worth emphasizing a lot of the value we have gained from just getting feedback and getting sort of very fast iterations with some of the very, very intelligent people working at Microsoft.
Great. I'm very happy that when I asked you this question, you smiled. So it seems that it's a very good partnership. And if you are watching this, again, make sure that you sign up to the Founders Hub. There is a lot of credits, one-on-one sessions. There is a lot of support that we provide to your startup. So make sure to sign up. And Nicolai, we still have a few minutes left, but you talked about hiring and finding the right fit to the company. How is the team distributed right now? It's more engineers, more machine learning. What do you have? And how? What is the size of the company right now?
Yeah, so we're just roughly a little bit more than 30 people right now. So we managed to attract really top talent in machine learning, AI, databases, and testing, and build that, surround our company with that with the talent. And a lot of the business is still basically around product and engineering. About a year ago, roughly about a year ago, we started growing our some of our go-to-market functions. In terms of where the teams are, majority of the engineering is based in London, and we really I really believe that London has incredible potential for basically becoming sort of AI hub of basically Europe, right? So we have some fantastic talent coming from some incredible universities, and the cost is also very reasonable compared to the Bay Area, right? So which makes London incredibly compelling, and we're really, really bullish on continue growing engineering in London, and of course outside London, so of course the whole of the UK, but the office, our office is in London, so that basically and we try to bring everyone to the office. We also launched our office in New York, so we have our office in New York, but that's functions which kind of helping us deliver the capability to the customers. So we are doing some business in the US, and that helps us be very close to the to the users, to the customers. And we recently also launched our APAC business, and we just actually closed our first pretty significant customer in that area as well, which I'm super excited to be able to work with completely different language, completely different culture, and so we just managed to very successfully deliver on that as well. Yeah, so from the go-to-market perspective, we continue investing in the US. So we definitely, there is a lot of momentum happening for our business in the US. And but product engineering, we are gonna continue kind of growing in the UK and London more specifically.
Awesome. And I see on the website that you have some open positions. You have a developer advocate, machine learning engineer, Kotlin engineer. What else is coming?
Oh God! So there is a lot. We are on constant lookout for really top engineers in machine learning, in databases, and top specialists in testing and QA. On top of it, we are on lookout for top people, of course, on the delivery side as well. So whether it's solution architects, whether it's actual sales. And of course, also the marketing component we are currently investing quite a lot in. So whether it's basically focus on the some of the brand marketing or demand generation. So we continue investing sort of in that invest in that area as well. But yeah, so so there is a lot more actually which is currently on the website. So and please do reach out if you're kind of interested in the mission of the company, in the vision of the business, and we would be very, very keen to talk to you.
Thank you, Nicolai. We are getting to the end of the show. I want to say again, thank you for joining me today. Excited to see where the company is heading to be following the company. Very interesting things that you are doing. And is there anything else that you want to share with us before I wrap up the episode?
So definitely reach out for a comprehensive demo to see how this works. Definitely reach out for any sort of collaboration ideas, what we could do together. We are very collaboration sort of I guess like partner friendly, right? So and also if you are looking for a job in the sector, do reach out as well. Connect to me on LinkedIn directly, and I'll be very happy to engage directly as well. So yeah, so it's been a fantastic session, and there is a lot more we could have shared, I'm sure, but we only have an hour, unfortunately. So
absolutely. Now we'll do a next session again. I'm sure we have more to follow and to share with the audience. But thank you so much again. And I'll tell people, go to the website, check it out, try it out, ask for a demo. And then before I finish here, I just want to mention again that we have the Microsoft for Startup Founders Hub, where you can get up to $150,000 on Azure credits, 30 plus tools and services. And you can use these credits toward the latest Gen AI models. Make sure that you sign up to the one-on-one sessions with Microsoft experts to either work through technical or business challenges. Go to aka.ms/ss credits. You can also take a picture of the QR code. It takes you directly to the website. And again, don't forget, bi-weekly on Thursday, so every other week at 9 a.m. Pacific time, in the same channel on YouTube, I will have a next AI startup founder joining me, talking about the company, and I hope you had a good time today. So thank you all. I hope to see in 2 weeks from now. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining, and thank you to our speakers. This session is a part of a series. To register for future shows and watch past episodes on demand, you can follow the link on the screen or in the chat. We're always looking to improve our sessions and your experience. If you have any feedback for us, we would love to hear what you have to say. You can find that link on the screen or in the chat. We'll see you at the next one.